democracy has spoken. Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 are both masterpieces. Like, this isn't really a debate, right? Right? I mean, I can't tell with Sonic fans anymore. These guys love to switch up on everything. Honestly, since both these games are so good, saying which is better fully comes down to preference. You could prefer one of the best and most ambitious 2D games ever made in this era, or you could be stupid. Okay, all jokes aside, I love both of these games. I just thought it'd be fun to compare both in different aspects and see which is better overall. Alright, so let's start simple with the... Oh yeah, by the way, when I say Sonic 3, I mean Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I just can't be asked to say the full thing every time. Okay, so these are the classic Sonic games, so there's not really any crazy story being told here. It's just stop Eggman, and there's nothing wrong with that. This story works for these type of games. Now, obviously, Sonic 3 has the better story. You've got the in-game cutscenes, the introduction of Niggles, the fact that there's multiple plot lines and endings, but I feel like it's unfair to compare a game with no story to a game with a story and say, oh, their one's better. So yes, Sonic 3's is better, but I'm gonna give the point to Sonic 2 simply because I like the song and the ending in Sonic 2 way more. These are some of the most influential and well-made platformers of all time, still holding up their value to this day. Gameplay-wise, both of these games were near perfect, but I want to focus on the small differences between both of the games and what they added to the franchise as a whole. Let's start with Sonic 2. This game added many things that will become staples in the franchise moving forward. The first big introduction this game added was the Spin Dash, one of the best moves Sonic has ever had. This move is great and fixes a big problem that Sonic 1 had. Sometimes you just can't build up enough speed to get up a slope, so having a way to instantly rev up is a big change. Another thing I love about the Spin Dash is it's not overpowered generations. It doesn't ruin the momentum based gameplay. It isn't a cheat code that lets you skip a lot of the level design either. It's just a really fun addition to Sonic's moveset. Another big addition is multiple characters. That's right, you can play as characters other than Sonic, like this newcomer Tails, a two-tailed fox that can fly. Hello? Buddy, Tails can't fly in this game? Nigga, what? Okay, so you make a new character, have his whole gimmick be flying, but not let him fly in-game. So what's the point of him then? He's basically just a skin for Sonic at this point. See, even since the dawn of time, Sega makes the most confusing decisions known to man. Whatever, yeah, this is weird, but it's still cool to play as other characters in the game, and Tails can fly a whole plane, which is pretty cool. Moving on from Tails though, there's several gameplay elements that are just better than Sonic 1. There are now 2 acts instead of 3, which makes levels feel a lot less repetitive. Special stages, instead of being a big ring at the end, you just cross a checkpoint with 50 rings and enter them. Now these special stages, they are stages. I like the concept, but unless you have these layouts memorized, playing through these is just not the most fun thing to do. There's 2 things that really piss me off about these special stages. One is when they change the perspective or like warp the ground and you can't see what's ahead, causing you to get damaged. Second is this bum ass fucking fox. Oh my god, bro, why is he 7 seconds behind Sonic when it comes to movement? I mean, I get it from a gameplay standpoint, obviously, so we can pick up rings you missed, but like, can't this motherfucker avoid an obstacle to save his life? I have failed multiple of these stages because this dumbass would get hit at the last second, causing me to... Okay, it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you don't know the entire level design and you can't accommodate for Tails, you're gonna struggle a little bit. The struggle is worth it though, because this game introduces Super Sonic, an actual reward for collecting all the Chaos Emeralds. Along with that golden shine, Super Sonic is faster, jumps higher, and is invincible, making him an upgrade to regular Sonic in every way. The only problem with this form is the music changes to an invincibility theme on loop, which gets really annoying after about 20 seconds. But yeah, other than a few small flaws, Sonic 2's gameplay is amazing, and Sonic 3 somehow manages to add more to this formula. Sonic 3's vision was so large that the game had to be split into 2 different halves, with the Sonic and Knuckles portion basically being the DLC for the game. This is why it feels cheap to compare this game with Sonic 2, because at least Sonic 2 released as a finished product. This is comparing basically 2 games in one. Now, at least several big additions to the formula were made. Like, remember how Tails couldn't fly? That's fixed now. Matter of fact, each character in the game has their own exclusive ability, like Sonic's new Insta Shield, which basically gives him an extended hitbox. Tails can fly and swim now in this game, and the newcomer Niggles can glide, climb, and break objects with just his fists. There's new shields in the game, each with their own abilities if you play as Sonic. The fire shield allows you to dash and makes you immune to fire. The lightning shield allows you to double jump and suck in rings, and finally the bubble shield, which allows you to bounce and breathe underwater. Special stages are handled way better in this game. All you have to do is find big rings in stages, no ring requirement needed. The stages themselves are better than Sonic 2's, but just nothing I go crazy at. Like, I don't go yippee 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 yay blue spheres. In addition to these stages being actually decent, there's just more of them too, because now we have 14 special stages instead of 7. This is due to the new Super Emeralds being introduced, and if you collect them all, you get a new form for Sonic it's never seen again. Yep, they really went and introduced a new form for Sonic and never brought it back. Like, why would you do this to us fans, Sega? So yeah, I'd argue that Sonic 2 has the more important additions to the franchise, but the sheer amount of stuff that Sonic 3 adds to the game just makes the gameplay feel more fleshed out to me. Like I said, both these games have extremely fun gameplay, but I'm gonna give the point to Sonic 3. Now content wise, yeah, Sonic 3 has more. Sonic 2 comes in around 2 to 3 hours, while Sonic 3 comes in around 6 hours long. Now this is actually the main reason I wanted to make this video, because sometimes less is more. This is actually why some people prefer Sonic 2 to Sonic 3, purely because for the genre, Sonic 2 is a more comfortable length. Here's a point I want to make. Would you enjoy Sonic Generations if it was double the length? Yeah, sure, Sonic Generations is an amazing game, but would having double the stages really be fun when the base gameplay isn't that different every time? Like, all you'd be doing is boosting through well-made stages, sure, but there's only so many times I can boost through a level with it still feeling fun. It's the same way some people feel about Sonic 3. 6 hours of just running and jumping just isn't fun for some fans. Now, I'm not one of those people. I think Sonic 3 is completely fine in length, and the way the game paces itself is completely fine, barring like 1 or 2 levels. I do get why some people would prefer Sonic 2 though. Like, being able to beat a Sonic game in just one sitting is just way more appealing to some people. Either way though, yes, it's unfair to compare, but Sonic 3 absolutely demolishes Sonic 2 in the content department. Point to Sonic 3. Now this is kind of a hard one. How I see it is Sonic 2 has more memorable stage themes, while Sonic 3 has better designed and more fleshed out stages. Both games still follow the whole nature to technology theme, which, fun fact, I think is a lie someone made up one day and gaslit everyone into believing. Sonic 1, luscious green hills to a marble temple, to a massive city, then to an underground temple. Yeah, this one's kinda iffy because Labyrinth Zone was meant to be earlier in the game, but it was too difficult. But Sonic 2? Sonic 3 does it the best, but like, you have a whole carnival out of nowhere and then back to ice. Anyways, back on track, the reason why I say Sonic 2's stages are more memorable is because they stand out way more to me. See, in Sonic 3, the stages are meant to fit an in-game world, so one stage would have to transition into another while still making sense. This leads these levels to be less wacky and stupid than the Sonic 2 levels, which make them stand out less. It's that classic element of, oh, we're here now, and it makes these stages feel more unique to me. My only problem with Sonic 2's stages comes from the last third of the game, really. Everything from Oil Ocean onwards is just less fun than the earlier parts of the game. Oil Ocean Zone is just okay. It's the slowest out of all of the stages in my opinion. Metropolis! Why in the fuck is this the only stage in the game with 3 acts? Why does this stage have the most annoying enemy placement of all time? Why did they choose the most repetitive, high-pitched song for this level? Actual cheese grated to the ears after about 2 minutes. I should just deduct a point for this level alone. Seriously, did they tell the level designers to make this level as little fun as possible? Sky Chase is cool, but it's basically just an auto-scroller. Wing Fortress is a decent attempt at an airship level, but it kind of falls flat with all the precise platforming and instant death pits everywhere. Like, these stages are definitely the lowest points of the game for me, but they're not bad. They're just not as fun as the rest of the game. Well, yeah, Metropolis is bad, but the rest is just okay. Sonic 3 stages are just some kind of enjoyment roller coaster though. Like, you'd have 2 really amazing stages, one mid one, and then it will just fluctuate for the rest of the game. Don't get me wrong, this game does have its standouts like Hydrocity, Ice Cap, Lava Reef, Flying Battery, Launch Base, which is slept on by the way. I think Launch Base is the best mechanical stage out of all the classic Sonic games, honestly. On top of all of this, Act 1s and 2s have different themes, adding more variety to the stages. Knuckles often gets his own paths too, which is an added bonus. Now, Sonic 3 stages definitely have their lows too. Sandopolis Act 2 is a stellar example of this. The stage is really bad if you don't know the entire layout. Actually, some people think that the entire Sonic and Knuckles portion of the game isn't that good, which I heavily disagree with. So while I definitely think that Sonic 3 stages are better, I think that Sonic 2 stages are far more consistent. Honestly, I think I'll give a point to both of these games in this department. The stages across both of them are just so good. 2D platformers in general have a boss fight problem where they're just kind of lackluster compared to other genres, but I feel like Sonic has this problem the worst. Look at this footage and tell me if you see something wrong. See how getting your rings back makes you immortal? So a big part of Sonic's design is the ability to pick yourself up quickly after getting hit, but the way that ruins 90% of the classic bosses is ridiculous. What is the point of even trying to do a boss properly when you can just ram headfirst into a boss, get a ring back, and then do it again? This problem is even worse in Sonic 3 though, because with Sonic the insta-shield is so broken you don't even take damage half the time. Couple that with almost every boss between both of these games being extremely easy, and you kinda get some lackluster bosses. But there's a few standouts like the Oil Ocean boss, the Wing Fortress boss, the Death Egg Eyeball Bum, I hate this guy, and that's all I remember difficulty-wise. I mean, Sonic 3 tries to mix it up more with all the gimmick bosses, but they're just like kind of okay. Let's have a hold right to win section here, a boss that kills himself here, another boss that kills himself here. Yeah, Sonic 3 has 2 bosses that just end themselves. I think Eggman was running out of ideas at this point. Actually, wait, no, there's 3. There's the Flying Battery Laser, which by the way is just the nerfed Sonic 2 boss. What was Eggman on this game? At least Knuckles has kind of hard variations of these bosses, but yeah, even still, these aren't that hard. They're just harder than Sonic's portion at least. So yeah, honestly, when it comes to both of these games, the boss fights are just okay. I think I'm gonna give the point to Sonic 3 though. As easy as the bosses are in that game, they at least have some variety to them. So yeah, while these games don't really have the most iconic normal bosses, this problem is easily solved when it comes to the Say what you will about the normal boss fights, the final bosses are difficult and memorable and are great send-offs to both of these games. The Death Egg robot, this was torture as a child. And still now, honestly. This boss fight takes place on the Death Egg with 0 rings. That's right, you can't get hit a single time, and you technically gotta fight 2 bosses. The first boss is Silver Sonic. He's really easy once you learn the phases, but he's still a risk because you know you have no rings. The actual final boss though makes me wanna cry. This boss requires so much patience and precision, and one single fuck up will send you back to the Silver Sonic fight all over. Getting all of the phases down and beating this boss does feel really satisfying though, and the fact that you have no rings just makes it even more rewarding. Sonic 3 technically has 4 final bosses: Big Arm, Giant Eggman Robo, Doomsday Zone, and Mecha Sonic for Knuckles exclusively. I do want to say that none of these fights are as difficult as Sonic 2's final boss, but they offer way more in terms of spectacle and fun in my opinion. Big Arm is a really cool fight. It takes place on the Death Egg as it's launching, and the sky dimming in the background just adds a lot to the look and atmosphere of the fight. The fight is really fun, but not that difficult overall. The phases are easy to read and understand, and the insta shield just shreds. Giant Eggman Robo is a really cool 3-stage fight and a big step up from the Sonic 2 final boss in terms of fun in my opinion. Voice crack. All 3 phases of this boss are pretty cool. For the first phase, he tries to slam you with his fingers. Not very hard at all if you just spin dash in place, but it is cool to see a massive ass robot stare at you in the background. The second phase is easily the highlight of the fight. Timing is crucial in the second phase. You gotta be able to hit his nose to expose his weak spot, then hit the weak spot, avoid the massive laser, and then avoid the fire as well, and then repeat that. The final phase is just a chase against Eggman. He just tries to run away with the Master Emerald, but the set piece is cool with all the crumbling platforms behind you. Doomsday Zone is my personal favourite out of all of these final bosses. It takes place in space and you have to chase Eggman on a time limit. This boss fight, while short, is really fun and fast paced. I love it. Mecha Sonic is a fraud. He uses the entire Master Emerald to turn super just to lose again. Hey, the fight is still fun, and seeing Angel Island Zone in the background is pretty cool. So yeah, in terms of final bosses, both of these games did it pretty well. I think honestly this is another category where I just gotta give both of these games a point. Sonic 3's final bosses may be more creative and memorable to me, but Sonic 2's sheer difficulty and reward for beating it just can't be matched. So yeah, I'll just settle on a point for both. Even though these games are damn near 40 years old, visually I'd say they're still pretty to this day. The sprite work across the entire game is amazing, but the environments are the standout for me. The backgrounds in these stages are insane, they're also detailed and amazing. The colours used are vibrant and they managed to make the stages stick out to me without feeling confusing. It baffles me how they made this 40 years ago. Honestly, there's no big graphical difference that sets these games apart, except from one thing. Yeah, I used to really like this sprite as a kid, but then someone pointed out to me that he looks angry and swollen, so I can't see him the same. Actually, one thing I've noticed about Sonic 3 is the sprite work is just not finished. Look at when Sonic crosses these handlebars, he transitions to his Sonic 2 self. The super forms are unfinished too. If you look up, it's just a regular Sonic sprite. What's with this random stray white pixel on Super Sonic's face? Now that I noticed it, you probably will notice it all the time too. I'm sorry. No, seriously, what am I looking at? Is it meant to be a reflection? It doesn't look like it. Either way, even if these sprites were fully finished, I still prefer how Sonic 2 sprites look overall, so I'm gonna give the point to Sonic 2. Yeah, as much as I'd like for this one to be a debate, I'm sorry, Sonic 3 clears in almost every way. Don't get me wrong, Sonic 2 has its bangers, but Sonic 3 is just way better. Okay, we all know Sonic 2 sold more, but Sonic 3 has Knuckles, so who's the real winner? Yeah, Sonic 3 wins, but that was to be expected, right? Like I said, both these games are amazing, but Sonic 3 is just a better experience overall. Also, before I end this video, I'm still stuck on something. Why could Tails not fly in the OG release of Sonic 2 where they smoking crack?